Okay, so today I have the pleasure to tell you a bit more about our Horizon 2020 funded pre-commercial procurement project called STARS, which is all about empowering patients by professional stress avoidance and recovery services. So during this presentation, I will give you a short explanation about the specific Horizon 2020 call and what the STARS project aims to achieve within this call. Then I will give you a little bit of background on the project. I will explain to you the needs and the direct benefits that the STARS solution should have, and then give you some more information about the PCP process. And finally, there is some time for questions. So the Horizon 2020 call that the STARS project responded to is about e-health innovation in empowering patients. So the specific challenge of this call is to empower hospitalized patients, outpatients, and their family or caregivers to support a continuum of care across a wide range of services, all supported by ICT. So with this call, Europe wants to improve the quality of the healthcare and the cost effectiveness by challenging the industry from the demand side to enhance the ICT skills, so to develop innovative solutions to enhance the ICT skills and increase the adherence of patients, to also increase their own role and their responsibility, and to support self-management of health. So what do we want to achieve with the STARS project specifically? So our mission is to challenge and to stimulate the European industry to develop a support tool for patients undergoing surgery with the aim of reducing stress during this entire care path. And the available budget that we have for the development of this innovative solution is 4.7 million euro, of which 3.26 million euro will flow directly to the industry. So our STARS consortium consists out of 11 partners spread over Europe, and we have the coordination and the central management of the project is based in the Netherlands, so at the Maastricht University. And then we have some procurers, so we have 5 buyers, so which are all hospitals. So the lead procurer is based in the Netherlands. Then we have 1 hospital located in Italy, and we have 3 hospitals in Spain. And so then we have some other partners which help the consortium with their clinical or ethical expertise or their expertise in innovation procurement. So let me give you a little bit of the background of the STARS project. So if you yourself or maybe a family member ever had to undergo surgery, you probably experienced that this is quite stressful. So patients already feel stress at the moment that they realize that they have to undergo the surgery. So they are nervous about the operation itself, about being under anesthesia, about the possible complications or risks involved, about if they will be in pain or not. But also more practical things like not knowing exactly when they will be operated on, how long they will be in the hospital, which clinical documents they have to bring, and so on. This can be quite stressful for patients. Then in the second phase, the clinical phase, when the patients have to enter the hospital, this is when the stress levels go up really high. So the hospital is often perceived as like a cold and unfamiliar, maybe an impersonal environment, and patients are really worried if they will be in safe hands and if everything will go well. Of course, after the surgery, they want to know if the operation was successful and if the pain or the discomfort they are feeling, if it's normal or if there's something wrong. And of course, everyone wants to know when they can go home. So then after discharge from the hospital, patients worry about other things like which medication should I take, should I follow a specific diet, when are the next scheduled controls, and so on. And they often also feel uncertain about the healing or the recovery process, so they don't know if it's going well or if there are any adverse reactions they are experiencing. So here you can see the stress levels during this entire patient journey, and as you can see, they are already quite high already from the start when the patients are informed that they have to undergo surgery. Then during the hospitalization, so right before and right after surgery, that's when the stress levels are really, really high, which is indicated here by the red. And you can see as soon as the patients can go home and start the recovery process, then the stress levels drop a little bit, although the patients are still not fully relaxed and they still experience some stress. So all the stress experienced by the patients during this entire patient journey not only really reduces the quality of life for the patients, but it also poses an enormous economic burden on the current healthcare systems. So studies have demonstrated that stress leads to a higher mortality after surgery. It increases the complications during the hospital stay and also leads to more rehospitalizations afterwards. Also, the drug consumption is really increased, so there is more medication necessary to keep the stressed patients sedated, which then again leads to more negative side effects such as delirium, for example. Now, stress is also known to have an effect on the wound healing, so the wound healing also suffers significantly from being stressed, and there is a delay in the return to the daily routine for the patients. So overall, it really reduces the quality of life of both patients and caregivers. So what are then the needs and the direct benefits of a STAR solution? Well, to assess the needs, we had a preparatory phase in the project, which started with a needs analysis. So we conducted some semi-structured interviews, we did some creative workshop, and of course a real-life job and user analysis to really define the needs to reduce stress in these patients. Next, of course, we wanted to know what was already available on the market, so we did a state-of-the-art analysis by performing a literature review and also an internet search. And then to even refine this, we also started a dialogue with the industry by doing open market consultations. So by doing these open market consultations, we wanted to decrease the gap between the demand and the supply, or understand it better, and also already increase the awareness of the market. And so based on all these things, we were also able to design the PCP process. So one thing that came forward during this needs assessment is that a fundamental concept for understanding the STAR scope is the patient journey. So as I mentioned before, you have different phases. You have the preclinical phase, the clinical phase, and then when the patient returns to home again. And there are some key processes within this surgical journey. So in the first instance, when the patient is at home and knows that he or she has to undergo surgery, he has to accept this, accept the illness, and also prepare for the surgery. Then we have the phase, the hospitalization phase, where the patients have to undergo some pre-surgery examinations, the hospital procedures, they have to undergo the surgery, of course, and then there's the post-operative stay and eventually the discharge. Then in the last phase, after the discharge, when the patient returns to home, there is, of course, the recovery process and the return to normal life. So it is really important that the STARS solution has an impact on all these phases of the patient journey. Although it may be a bit different because, as I mentioned before, the stress levels vary also during this patient journey and are at its highest during the hospitalization. So then again, based on this needs assessment, we define some functional requirements that the STARS solution should comply with. So we believe in order to achieve this empowerment of patients and reducing their stress, it is necessary that the solution allows to inform and educate the patients. So for example, it should inform the patients about the entire patient journey and about what is expected from them and from the caregivers. And it should also provide personalized, reassuring information. So information about the operation itself, about the possible complications or perioperative symptoms, and also the pain management, and also, of course, about the recovery process itself. So another functional requirement for the STAR solution is the need for follow-up and monitoring. So the solution should allow self-assessment of the perceived stress and pain, and also, again, provide reassuring feedback and guidance to the patients and their caregivers. And this feedback should, of course, be based on scientifically validated knowledge. This information should also be transmitted to the clinical team so they can follow up the stress levels or the pain levels of the patients, and they can intervene whenever is necessary. The third functional requirement is communication. So the solution should allow direct and effective communication between patients, caregivers, and healthcare professionals. So for example, to caregivers, so they can follow up the situation and the location of the patient in the hospital, and to healthcare professionals, they should obtain the patient's info, their stress levels, and so they can manage the patient's stress. Then a final functional requirement is enabling autonomy. So we believe that the solution should provide the opportunity for patients to personalize and create a more friendly environment within the hospital. So this can be related to light, to scent, to noise, or so on. So based on these needs and functional requirements, we believe that the solution should have some direct benefits for the STARS procurers or for the hospitals. So it should reduce the complications caused by stress, which can be, for example, high blood pressure, arrhythmia, but also delirium or infections. It should also decrease the drug consumption during the entire patient journey. So then we're talking about sleep medication, sedative medication, or pain medication. It should also lead to a faster return to the daily routines. It should improve the communication between patients and healthcare professionals, and overall increase the quality of life of the patients and their caregivers. So I will explain shortly how we envisage the PCP process for this project. So after this preparatory phase, we are currently in the tendering process. So we published our call for tender on the 1st of February. And now we want to invite you, the industry, to send us your offers or your proposals. And the deadline is April 30th. So after we select several companies based on the awarding criteria, they are invited to enter for the technical development. And this whole technical development is divided in 3 phases, in 3 sequential phases. So during phase 1, the bidders should supply us with a solution design and also demonstrate the feasibility of the proposed concept. So for this phase 1, there is a time period of 3.5 months, and there is an available budget of about 40,000 euro, which is the maximum price per tenderer. So bidders which are successful during phase 1 are then invited to proceed to phase 2. So in the second phase, the bidder should provide a prototype which can then be tested in lab conditions. And for this phase, we have a time frame of about 7.5 months, and the maximum budget per bidder is about 290,000 euros. So again, successful bidders in this phase are then invited to proceed to phase 3. And so in this phase, the suppliers have to supply us with a limited set of products, which then can be tested in a real environment with real patients to really demonstrate the proof of concept so that the solution really ticks all the requirements of the STARS challenge. So for this, we have a time frame of about 8 months and a maximum price per bidder of around 650,000 euro. So do you want to help to reduce stress for patients undergoing surgery? Well, you can find more information on our website, which also links to our call for tender, so you can find the link there. Or you can always contact us at this email address. So thank you for your attention.